Where we are at right now is both Public Works and Arms will have representatives at the boat meeting next Monday night. Present their case with the amount of how much they need to go forward. Boat would, they have the money set aside and boat would prove the actual going out and securing the note. And then our finance department would go out and secure that note. They've already looked into at least one lending institution, and they're probably going to look at other ones to find it. The ambulance itself would be have to be constructed, have to be put together, and then it would arrive. I imagine this is much like Chief Hale purchasing the 2 police cars. Those are sitting on lots someplace. You know, they're here in the state of Connecticut. I would imagine these dump trucks are already there because we did get a price from someone in Wallingford, and I imagine the dump trucks are there. As soon as the note, everything is approved and done and the paper signed, we can get the 2 dump trucks. So that's where we are with it. It was just a case of a lot of hurdles had to be crossed before it was done. It wasn't just the boat approved, go out and buy them. There is an enormous amount of paperwork when you do it this way. If we had the actual funding that was in our hand, like let's say that we took the money out of the reserve fund and we actually had the $500,000 in our hand, we would be going like to a car dealer and purchasing them and they would be earned. The fact that you have to buy them through a note with a lending institution, they have an enormous amount of paperwork, and there are certain things that have to be in place before they will give you that money. In fact, we have to have approvals by boat, we have to have, and that has to be on record, we have to have, our bid specs have to be, everything has to be filed, ready to go, and they need copies of it, and then they give us the money. It's not the same thing as the cheap buying tonight. So we're hoping that we will move with all good speed. Monday night, they will be going there. If anybody wishes to push it along, you can go. I'm going to attend the meeting to answer any questions that both might have and to also support both the Public Works and Arms in their endeavor to get the note. So that's what we're saying. Okay, anything else under new business? Okay, shall we, do we have a motion on that? Oh, we need a motion to table the unfinished business of Michael Lehman workers' compensation.
Business about the ice cream vendor?
I'm sorry?
The ice cream vendor license?
Yeah. Okay, and we'll go back to unfinished business when we complete this one. We really, under unfinished business, we said we tabled it. We never voted to table Michael Lehman. So, yeah. We're under new business. Someone would like to bring up Mr. Carpinellis.
So, go ahead.
That's Mr. Softy?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter? Yeah, my interest, my curiosity is what law or city policy or city regulation was the director of the Nature Center using to tell Mr. Carpinelli to shut his generator off or where he couldn't be? I'm just curious to what law she was quoting when these issues came up.
I can't answer that.
The gentleman has been licensed, I don't know if I'm correct, you're licensed by the city, licensed by the state, he has all his permits. So now when he goes to use that permit that he's paid good money for, all of a sudden, an employee of the city is saying, no, you can't do what the city's licensed you to do. I'm confused personally. So I would like to know exactly what law, rule, city ordinance, regulation she's using to say you can't do it, or is it just a decision that she on her own is making? That's my question.
Are you recommending that we have Mrs. Lamer come to our next meeting and explain it to us? Because I certainly don't have an answer as to what she said or did or lied.
So I am very curious, yes, I would request that.
Mr. President, I don't think that's fair to Mr. Soft either, to Mike, that he have to wait another month for Mrs. Ms. Lindgren would come down here and explain. I think our corporation council should or could answer. If he's received all the permits, paid, whatever, he should be able to park his truck up on Nature Center regardless of what Ms. Lindgren says or.
Okay.
I can talk to her, because I'm familiar with Michael, he's
Yes.
been in contact with him all my life, so we know what to trust. Yes.
Anyone else have a comment before I ask Mr. Carpenter for something?
So in other words, because this is really how it lies to me. So in other words, if he has all his licenses and permits in place, and our attorney is gonna see if there's any law about a generator, and if our attorney can't find any law about running a generator, then he should be able to use his licenses and permits immediately on after that.
Correct.
Is that right?
That's what I was saying.
I would agree with that. However, my comment would be, I think what we have to do is designate a place where Mr. Carpenter would actually park his truck.
No, be a good idea.
Okay?
They have one already?
Oh, I would say we need to do that. And
Seems like
I will tell you why we need to do that, okay? So if I may have the floor for a minute. We can't just have the truck parked any place there, okay? We have to someplace in the parking lot designated place. So it's, I don't know, we would have to take a look at where it would be. At the last football game in Ansonia, Mr. Carpenter was there with his Mr. Softy truck. He has a designated parking place where he parks right now. He parks next to the refreshment stand that's there. We have someone that's in charge of the field up there. I think it's a recreation person, whoever it is. He is also in charge of the police, or works in conjunction with the police when they're there. And he had asked the police that after the game was over, many of the parents and the children went down in front of the field house waiting for the players, and they meet there and they congratulate them and they do everything and all. And he asked that no vehicles be down there and going through when the people were standing there. So when the police sergeants stationed themselves there to make sure that no vehicles came through, Mr. Carpenter decided to drive his vehicle down there and sell ice cream to the people, and was told by the officer in charge that he couldn't go there. Okay, and he was told who made that decision, and that's the way it was. And from what I understand, Mr. Carpenter had a verbal altercation with the person that was in charge up there and had to be separated by the Ansonia police.
No.
So, hold on, please. Hold on, please. I went personally to the sergeant that was there to ask what happened, because I was notified of that in the discussion with our chief of police. I asked our chief of police to tell me what exactly had happened, and I did speak to the sergeant, not to find out anything or anything, only because it was recommended to me by the people that are running the football games and all, that a designated space be set for Mr. Carpenter. They have absolutely no problem with him selling the ice cream there and all in his spot, which is next to the refreshment stand. But once the game is over, that, you know, that's, and the people are there no longer, that's the way it's supposed to be. I was also told that there's a problem during baseball games up there, that they were telling him they wanted him to park in a certain place, and he refused and gave them a hard time, and didn't want to park in the space where they told him, which was close to the foul line, where cars have been hit in the past with foul balls and all, and they allowed absolutely no parking there. So I was told that again by the police department and by the sergeant that was there. So I would say quite possibly, you know, if that is the designated space, that's where they should stay at Nolan Field. And that's the reason I bring up that there should be a designated space someplace in the parking lot at the Nature Center where Mr. Carpenter is allowed to sell his things, but we don't want to have it happen that 2 weeks from now, it's right next to the, whatever she calls, the big pavilion where people win an hour or so forth. It's in the parking lot, etc. It's your decision what we do, but I think it should be reaffirmed that over in the field, he has a parking space, and that's what it is, you know? I've been told more than once, it is a privilege to be there at Milton Field, okay? We give out a license, and he meets all the requirements and everything else. It is a privilege to be allowed to go up onto Milton Field and sell the ice cream and so forth. You know, it's not just, you go to the police department and you get your license, and here's where I'm parking. It is a privilege to be there, so, you know, just bringing that up. Now, Mr. Carpelli, you wanna say that? Yes.
Just want to comment. We have an individual that's here on an issue about a generator. I think that's being adequately addressed. And Mr. Carpinella has, I haven't heard anything about objecting to a designated spot. I don't know if it's necessary to bring up what you brought up, Mr. President. I think that obviously there's a separate situation on Nolan Field, but Mr. President, I don't believe this is an appropriate place to essentially embarrass someone about it.
That there should be a designated spot at the nature center.
You could have spared him the sermon, though, Mr. President.
Should be a designated spot, and I asked the chief of police to stay here in case there was a problem with the other one. Okay? I wasn't going to speak to, and that's what my whole question out there was. I asked the chief of police if he was comfortable in speaking to the other issue. That's all that was discussed up there. So,
That's my recommendation, is to submit your request to the Recreation Commission to control the fields, to address this, and I will address it with them, with Mr. Carpenter, if it doesn't happen.
Mr. Schreiber.
I think I could shed a little light on this. Speaking for Mrs. Lindgren and having a lot of conversations with her regarding this over the years, we do have a designated area now. Her concern with Mr. Carpinella was that she didn't want the truck anywhere near the roadway walkway going down to the bottom. She thought it was, that the kids would have to go if the truck is smoking or anything like that. She wanted the truck away from the walkway. Mr. Carpinella, I guess, I don't know if they had words, they didn't get along on it, but we felt that the remedy was, and with the Board of Recreation, we decided to put a vendor parking location. Now, I don't know if Mrs. Lindgren is having a problem, maybe Mr. Carpinella is not abiding by that vendor parking sign, but there is a sign there that is the only place he should be parking. Is that sign still there, Mike?
Yes, it took 5 years to get the sign there. And yeah, sometimes I do get a little loud and everything, but that's just my nature. And I pay a lot of money to the organization, to football, to the Pop Warner, to the baseball, to the soccer. You're saying it's a privilege. I pay for that privilege extra. Every game I pay $75 to the concession stand to be up there. So I'm not, and I take offense in what you say. Everybody thinks, I've been here 17 years. Cut me some slack. I lived in Ansonia my whole life. If it's not Mr. Softy, it's when I had Club 101. This whole town picks on me, and I'm not saying poor me, because I'm not the angel of the city. But you know what? I've been dealing the ice cream 17 years. I do a damn good job. People like me. And I had mothers come up to me after the game and said, can you come down and go down by the clubhouse so I can buy my kid who's been buying off of me for 17 years, milkshakes or sundaes, the football players. That's why I go down there. I sell to the football players down there. And I already talked to Tony D today, and he said, I got a designated spot for you. Everything's all set. He goes, I'm sorry I got in your face. I said, I'm sorry I got in your face. He said it was his Italian temper, and that's what happened. I'm not going to say, I didn't jump in his face, or we didn't have to be separated by the cops. Johnny Raff asked me to go back to the truck, and I was trying to show him this license agreement that he asked me for. And with the baseball, I called up Attorney Blake during the championship game, and he talked to the guy, and Jeff Capola, and we straightened it out. I'm in the designated spot. I have no problem being in a designated spot. None whatsoever, but I waited 5 years for that designated spot. Raleigh was supposed to get it for me. Mr. Schreiber, excuse me, I'm a little upset here. Mr. Schreiber was going to get it. Everybody's going to get it. 5 years. Finally, a month ago, it was up there. And like I said, when I'm parked on the side over there, the cop comes and I'm doing business, and he gives me a $35 ticket for parking next to the fire hydrant over there, which he was walking out, oh, you're 7 feet away, and blah, 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 but like I said, I abide by the rules.
Anything, Chief, you would like to add?
Yeah, just from our perspective, I spoke to Mrs. Lindgren myself. I'm not going to speak for her, but in that situation, as you face the main building of the nature center, there's a fire hydrant, there's a sidewalk, and Mr. Carpinello was parked there within too close to the fire hydrant. Park ranger asked him to move, and he refused. Said, call the cops, as he stated earlier. The officer went up there and issued the parking ticket. Now, it's right next to a sidewalk, where kids or people are walking out, and you have to walk in front of it. It's a safety issue. The issue at Nolan Field that you brought up is a safety issue. You shouldn't be bringing vehicles into areas where people are standing, especially a vehicle where children may be running up to. Now, yes, the designated parking spot really had nothing to do with that. But my understanding was, park here and we'll get a sign. So, park there. As far as the engine running of the generator, that's up to Mrs. Lindgren. I have no concern on that. Her point was when it was parked right in front of the building and the fire hydrant, fumes would go and build. So that's the reason why a parking ticket was issued. If you'd complied with the request from the ranger, there would not have been a parking ticket. The ranger was a city employee.
And I'm not complaining about taking
Excuse me.
Excuse me.
Mr. Adamowski.
Can we just make sure that this doesn't keep going around and around? Can we make sure that we get proper parking places for these people? And can we make sure that we're not arguing if we're supposed to be parked in these places? Because I can't believe this is...
There is in both places.
Do we have this in place?
It boils down to, if you park in the spot, there's no problem even with the generator running. If you park in the spot in the field, there's no problem over there. One was asked to move by the police officer in one place, and the other one, police officer said you can't go there. There's no police officer that's going out of their way to pick on Mr. Carpinello. He was asked to move the vehicle, and the second time was asked not to move the vehicle. That's all it's saying. I'm all in favor of going to the nature center, park in the spot, and that's it. So,
Fine.
that's it.
We all have our spots?
That's fine.
We're gonna stay there?
But now, what's gonna happen on the 20th, when I go up there and she starts coming up and telling me, turn the generator off?
That's the generator issue that we need to
Well,
resolve.
what can I do? The parking, we're all square. I apologize to Mrs. P.
I will research it and I will contact Mrs. Lindgren and Mr. Carpinello about it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
We need to go back to new business. We have a motion to go back to unfinished business. We go back to unfinished business.
Motion to return.
All in favor? Any opposed? Unfinished business, we have the issue of Attorney Robert Souza was unable to make it tonight. You have an item on your thing for executive session. Can we have a motion? Motion and a second, Mr. Knapp, to table the item. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. Is there anything else to come before? Yes, I'm sorry. Yes.
Is he first or am I?
Okay.
Am I first or is he first? You plan on that.
You're asking.
I have under unfinished business.
Yes.
We brought up, I believe it was 2 or 3 months ago, about the filming.
Yes.
Has this gone anywhere? Are we turning these tapes over to Comcast?
We have them taped, but we need a meeting of the video commission to figure out how we're technologically gonna handle it on one CD. We still have that problem. So while everything is taped, we're having problems getting them on DVD to Comcast. And it's a technological issue, and I think if we can convene a meeting with someone who has the expertise, it's the transfer. Everything's recorded. Problem is getting the meeting onto one CD, because the Comcast does not have the capability to change CDs. It would seem like it would be no problem to switch CDs one week one CD, 1 week the next CD. But since the system is automated, we need to go on one CD.
Are you giving them anything?
Right now, no. They
Why
have
not?
the old meetings, but they would only be able to show half meetings.
So what? You give them nothing?
needs to be done right.
Help them do it.
If we have any suggestions on how to get.
I would like
what's
to make a motion
without-
that we stop taping and figure something out, because it's costing us money taping these things. Nobody's aired them, nobody's seen since January. And when we do finally get to figure out what it is, I don't think anybody's gonna care about what happened 9 months ago. To watch a meeting that
Well,
happened 9
our
months ago.
residents requesting it, who can request any.
I checked
any
into it,
meeting.
not one resident has requested a CD or copy of any of these tapes that are being taped.
They may not have requested a copy of the minutes either. Doesn't mean we can't make it
So I
available.
view those online.
I'd like to know what cost has the city expended taping the meetings?
Did we put money into that? You didn't donate?
I have.
You have.
Donated money,
Okay.
my money.
Okay.
I'm okay continuing for the residents. I'd like them to be, obviously I'd like them to be on Comcast, but as long as we're
And
documenting
it's not
the
happening.
meeting.
So I made a motion, if somebody would like to second it, if not, then it drops.
We have a motion.
I second it.
We have a second. The motion was to stop taping until we find a solution to being able to convert this to a format that would be able to go to Comcast. Have a roll call vote, please.
Adamowski?
Yes.
Bempis?
Yes.
Stowe?
No.
Tripp?
No.
Janetti?
No.
Mount?
Yes.
DeLucia?
Yes.
Reagan?
No.
Wondowski? Marini?
No.
Matt?
Yes.
Churchman?
Yes.
7.
Motion carried. We,
I'll instruct a volunteer to tape the meetings, non-city appointed for the next meeting, so we don't lose track. As of course, even without a proposal, all meetings are
we've asked Mr. Tedosio to stay here to address the car tax waiver issue. Someone would like to ask him a question? What? Oh, I'm sorry.
We need a motion.
I did write that section.
So we need a motion to put that in executive session?
Yes, we do.
I'll second like that.
Motion made and seconded to go into executive session.
And then we have to reopen the public session, no?
Do we have to ask for public session because it wasn't on the agenda? That this topic was going to be an executive session?
I will open the public session and ask if anybody has a comment. Yes.
My name is Edward McCain, 21 Castle Lane. I have a suggestion. In New Haven, last year, New Haven police, they were going with wands down at Sports Haven and hit the plates. Well, there was, they were
That has nothing to do with those tax waivers.
for the cars that were owed tax. They had tow trucks, they were pulling them out of there.
Yeah, we're discussing the employees hearing and the tax waivers. Thank you. Anyone wish to comment on that? Final time, anyone wish to comment? Being done, public session is closed. We have a motion and a second to go into executive session. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Well, I would like to have the 4 people in the public official session stay.
No, we don't want to do
We don't need the chief.
No.
All right, chief. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Second.
My third.
All in favor? Any opposed? Anything else to come up tonight? If not, motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn and second, Mr. Janetti. All in favor? Aye. Thank you for another good meeting.
You too.
And you look healthy too, so I was wondering.
Oh, yours, taking out the Sullivan seat.